Why democracy dies without free speech. Freedom of speech is not merely one civil liberty among many. It is the foundation upon which every free and democratic society rests. From the Enlightenment philosophers of 17th century Europe to the political thinkers of the American founding and later defenders of liberal democracy, free speech has been understood as essential for truth, self-government, and the protection of liberty. A society that cannot speak freely cannot govern itself freely, and a democracy that suppresses expression ultimately undermines its own legitimacy. The roots of this idea lie in the Enlightenment, when philosophers challenged the authority of monarchs, churches, and inherited tradition. John Locke argued that political power is only legitimate when it rests on the consent of the governed, but consent requires discussion, criticism, and persuasion. A people who are not free to speak are not truly consenting, they are merely obeying. Locke's theory of government therefore presupposes a public sphere in which ideas can be exchanged without fear of punishment. Baruch Spinoza made this point even more sharply. In Theological Political Treatise, Spinoza argued that suppressing speech does not produce stability, but resentment and rebellion. As Spinoza said in his Theological Political Treatise, quote, "The true aim of government is liberty," end quote. Because human beings cannot be forced to think alike, attempts to control opinion ultimately weaken the state rather than strengthen it. Free speech, in Spinoza's view, is not a threat to political order, but a condition of its survival. Voltaire likewise defended freedom of expression as essential to reason and progress. He believed that error should be answered with argument, not censorship. When authorities punish speech for being offensive or heretical, they replace reason with force and halt intellectual development. The Enlightenment conviction was clear. Truth emerges from open debate, not from silence imposed by power. These ideas profoundly shaped political thought in the American colonies in the years leading up to 1776. Colonists had first-hand experience with censorship, seditious libel laws, and punishment for criticizing British officials. As a result, they understood that free speech and a free press were essential defenses against tyranny. James Otis and John Adams argued that without open criticism of government, abuses of power would remain hidden and unchallenged. Thomas Paine's common sense demonstrated the democratic power of free expression. Paine's arguments for independence reached ordinary people, not just elites, and helped turn political frustration into collective action. This was self-government in action, made possible by the freedom to publish unpopular and revolutionary ideas. Without free speech, the American Revolution itself would have been unthinkable. This understanding was later codified in the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. The founders placed freedom of speech and of the press first not by accident, but because they recognized these liberties as prerequisites for all others. James Madison argued that a people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with knowledge, and knowledge depends on free expression. In the 19th century, John Stuart Mill provided one of the most systematic defenses of free speech in On Liberty. Mill argued that silencing any opinion is harmful, whether that opinion is true or false. If it is true, society loses the chance to correct error. If it is false, society loses the opportunity to strengthen its understanding of the truth by confronting it. As Mill explained in On Liberty, quote, "He who knows only his own side of the case knows little of that," end quote. Mill's argument rests on human fallibility. Because individuals and governments can be wrong, no authority should have the power to decide which ideas may be expressed. This insight lies at the heart of liberal democracy. Democracy assumes disagreement, and free speech is the mechanism that allows disagreement to be productive rather than destructive. Free speech also serves as a vital safeguard against authoritarianism. When citizens can criticize leaders, expose corruption, and organize opposition, power is constrained. When speech is suppressed, abuses flourish in the dark. History shows that every authoritarian regime restricts speech, not as an afterthought, but as a necessity for maintaining control. Ultimately, free speech is not merely an individual right, it is a collective democratic practice. It enables citizens to deliberate, to dissent, and to hold power accountable. From the Enlightenment to the American founding to modern democratic theory, the lesson is consistent and clear. A liberal democracy cannot exist without robust protection for free expression. Free speech is not just compatible with democracy, it is the condition that makes democracy possible.